DP is dead. And I'm going to get into this. But first, apologies in advance. I'm sick as I record this. So if I mess up more than usual, again, apologies in advance. But boy, I just had to jump on this because I think it's rather significant. It's a confirmation story overall of what had to have been true, but nevertheless. I'll take a look at it. So it's two articles. One followed 24 hours apart because he immediately got confirmation later. But nevertheless, the point is, hey, streaming just isn't the thing, So here we have Matt McCloin nicely covered this story. And, Disney Plus dead. Marvel Star Wars broke, confirms Tony Gilroy. Hey, he did Andor. Yes, he did. So Tony Gilroy drops a bomb while reflecting on his time with Disney on Andor. The creator reveals the Star Wars series cost a whopping $650 million for 2 seasons. Yet by season 2, Disney told him streaming is dead and there is no money, which is why it's dead. The point is to make money. It didn't. So despite the massive budget, Gilroy says the shows were made without interference. But the reality behind the scenes shows just how broke DP really is, which we know also includes Marvel. Gilroy didn't hold back while speaking about the making of Andor. He exposed just how much Disney spent and how quickly things changed behind the scenes. This is from IndieWire. For Disney, this is $650 million for 24 episodes. I never took a note. We said, fuck the Empire in the first season, and they said, can you please not do that? In season 2, they said, streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before, so we fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. That freedom comes with responsibilities. Well, geez. They still put up with this attitude? Anyway. $4 billion streaming loss for Disney. Gilroy's comments line up with recent reports about Disney slashing budgets across the board. Disney CEO Bob Iger has confirmed streaming lost the company $4 billion. Probably more than that. They always give you the conservative estimate. Iger also said Disney would be pulling back on both Star Wars and Marvel. The nail in the coffin for Star Wars on DP was The Acolyte. It reportedly cost north of $200 million, which didn't support the low number of fans that tuned in. The Acolyte was quickly canceled. However, its effects were felt by Skeleton Crew, which didn't make the Nielsen chart, a first for a Star Wars show on DP. As a result of the failure of the Acolyte, reports surfaced that Disney would only be releasing one Star Wars show per year. DP only has Ahsoka Season 2 currently in the works. Yeah, just cancel it. No? Okay. Well. It's the same story for Marvel and DP. Kevin Feige's post-Endgame agenda has been a complete failure, following wasting billions of dollars on shows nobody watched, like the Marvels. Well, that's, you mean the films. Maybe he means Ms. Marvel, but anyway. She-Hulk and Secret Invasion. Oh, God. Fans tuned out and didn't tune in for Daredevil Born Again, which is the first MCU show on DP not to make the Nielsen chart. Up next from Marvel on DP is Ironheart and Wonder Man. 2 more shows that look to be big busts. Yeah, if the rest of Marvel is sick and unhealthy, there's no way shows like that can get anywhere. So while Daredevil Born Again was said to be retooled, oh, it was tooled all right, they didn't go far enough. Season 2 is looking like more of the same. Oh, jeez. Per Gilroy's comments, as part of Iger's pullback, the budgets have been slashed, which is evident from the Marvel shows that failed, such as Echo, Agatha, and Daredevil. Gilroy had a lot of pull thanks to who he is and the fact he saved Rogue One. How the cuts impact Ahsoka Season 2 remains to be seen. Well, look, Ahsoka did look good. I'll give it that. It looked a lot better than Obi-Wan, but it just wasn't a good show. So no money. I don't know. If it's anything like how they have affected Marvel, Ahsoka could be in trouble. Yeah, I don't know how you can't cut a whole lot for a Star Wars show. Like Daredevil and stuff like that, you can get away with some cuts, but it's already been rumored that Season 2 will be its last and that Ahsoka will get canceled. More than likely. More than likely. So then there's a little more stuff to bolster in this follow-up article. And Tony Gilroy was right. DP is broke, and now people are paying the price. So, of course, there's been more layoffs and that sort of thing. Less than 24 hours, as you pointed out, what Gilroy said, that Disney told him streaming is dead. According to Deadline, the sweeping cuts hit Disney Entertainment's television and film marketing teams, television publicity, casting, and development. Several hundred employees are impacted globally. Yeah, I'm afraid so, Daredevil. Disney's television development and casting ranks were gutted. Among the names out, Eric Soler, Vice President of Casting for 20th Television. Tony Thompson, Vice President of Content Development at Hulu Originals. Additional exits include executives from ABC and Hulu's drama teams. That's the sad thing about Hulu, because at one time Hulu was a major competitor for Netflix, and then Disney just let it sit there, chasing DP, when really DP should have just been a tab on Hulu. It had already built a place for itself. Now, granted, this was primarily being the go-to for reruns of old popular shows and stuff like that. Also, even at the time when it was fresh, current shows, like if you need to catch up, you could go and get on Hulu and you can watch it there and that kind of thing. But nevertheless, you had something and you let it languish and you didn't really do a whole lot with it. And now here you are. While some had contracts expire or left for new jobs, the timing and scale are clear. Disney is downsizing everything not tied to theme parks or sports. At Disney's annual shareholder meeting this spring, Bob Iger said the company would focus on adding new jobs mostly tied to Disney experiences like theme parks. Yeah, that's it. The theme parks, they're completely dependent on that, and they aren't doing that great, not like they used to be. And then there's sports. Well, sports will always bring in cash, but when you're burning what it brought in on this stuff. So this marks the fourth major round of layoffs in just 10 months, following the shutdown of ABC Signature, the merger of scripted teams and deep cuts at Nat Geo and FX. CEO Bob Iger originally promised $7.5 billion in cost reductions last year. And he's still slashing. Streaming, once positioned as Disney's future, is now a liability. Even after a rare profit last quarter, the company is still cutting staff tied to DP, Hulu, and linear TV. Last year, Iger confirmed that streaming lost $4 billion. And as we go into the streaming business in a very, very aggressive way, we tried to tell too many stories. It wasn't the amount, it was the quality. They stunk. That was the problem. And I see no evidence you've learned that. That's another problem. Now, you can cut back, sure. But you got to cut back to something that's going to earn something. And right now, I'm not seeing it. Basically, we invested too much. Oh, yeah. Way ahead of possible return. It's what led to streaming ending up as a $4 billion loss. Yeah. The timing of the layoffs, days after Gilroy said there's no money for shows, raises questions about what's next. Ahsoka Season 2 is still moving forward, but The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew have both flopped. Well, The Acolyte deserved to flop. It was crap, and I think people tuned in just to see how bad it was, kind of a morbid curiosity thing. Skeleton Crew was actually a cute, nice little show, but nobody saw it. And that's bad news for Star Wars overall, and that includes the Mandalorian movie. I just don't see the excitement for it, for anything Star Wars. except old Star Wars. You know, they re-released the Revenge of the Sith, and it did pretty good. You know, but that's real Star Wars. You know, they didn't know how to do that. Of course, Ironheart, Wonder Man gonna be bust, and Daredevil. Daredevil is, boy, a really telltale sign of just how bad things are. I often said Star Wars is already dead. Marvel is sick. Marvel may be dead already. We just don't know it yet. You know, I mean, you get stuff like, Wolverine and Deadpool, but that's an anomaly. It's an aberration unto itself. It really is a separate entity, even though they're weaving it into it and all that. But nevertheless, that's the deal. It means nothing. It didn't do anything for Captain America Brave New World, and certainly did nothing for Thunderbolts. And then you have Daredevil, the most popular character of the Netflix Marvel shows. Same cast, brought him back, all that stuff. Well, some of the same cast. Same star, anyway. And nobody showed up. They didn't know it was as bad as it was, and it was pretty bad. I've seen worse, but it was pretty bad. And they didn't know all that going in. You had to suspect it's probably going to be crap. It's Disney and that sort of thing. But whatever. It could just be, I'm burned out on Marvel. I've just been burned too many times with crappy movies. And the shows have never even bothered. So this is really bad. I mean, hinging a lot on Fantastic Four, and it's looking pretty bad already. It just maybe they won't even show up. You know, maybe it's not as bad as we think, you know, but they'll never know because they're not going to show up. And that's what happened to Daredevil. So anyway, you can actually already make the case that Disney has made cuts to both Marvel and Star Wars. So he says, in the went over the previous article, there's no doubt the budgets have been slashed for shows like Echo, Agatha, and Daredevil. Yeah, so there you go. He's reiterating what he already said, and Star Wars is slashed as well, which easily any Star Wars show will probably be more expensive than a Daredevil show. Like I said, Daredevil, you could cheapen that up and still, if you know what you're doing and you're not screwing around and you don't have to polish a woke turd to try to fix it, which is what happened here, you can have a good show. The overall problem is, let's say they succeeded and they did a pretty good Daredevil show. Nobody showed up for it. That's the thing. That's what's so important here. They just didn't show up. And they may not be showing up for any of the others. I mean, by the time you get to Spider-Man, they'll probably show up for that. So that's where they are. That's where they put themselves. And that's it. So you get things like Skeleton Crew. Like I said, a cute show. It should have done way better than it did. But the overall brand of Star Wars is very sick. And I would say dead. Marvel, same thing. So, what do you do? Probably there's nothing they can do. It would be helpful if there were more signs that they'd learned their lesson and they'd abandoned some of the crap of wokeness and whatnot. And it's important to remember, it doesn't, like Fantastic Four doesn't have to be completely woke to be a woke disaster. It just needs a whiff of it. And already it does have that. In commentary from the cast, in plot leaks, and you can see this, a gender swapping Silver Surfer and that sort of thing. Stop gender swapping, stop race swapping. That's damn near death to your project, dead on arrival if you keep doing that. And there are certain storylines and whatnot. You can make a case about how it's unfair in some elements, but this is what wokeness has done to it. If people get a whiff of wokeness, however unfair it might be to an individual project or whatnot, it's going to fail. So at the very least, just on the superficial level, you got to cut that crap out, that gender swapping, race swapping. Stop doing that. And at this late date, you had plenty of time to figure that out. And now you've got product that, just flooded with it. And you just can't keep your head above water anymore. Well, anyway, yeah, no mystery as to why DP is dead.